Hello everyone, and today we're going to be looking at the topical questions for chapter 3, which is storage devices and media, and chapter 4, networks and the effect of using them. I realize your examination is very close, and it's important for me to do something that would help you, aid you in prepping for your exam, where you get to look at it, go to it, study with it over and over and over and over and over again. So, which makes it easy for you. So, it simply means that there is no excuse why you shouldn't do well. Okay. So, again, this is topical questions for chapter 3. So, I'll probably just put it somewhere here. Okay. So, this is for chapter 3, which is what? Storage devices and media, and also chapter 4, okay, networks and the effect of using them. Okay, tick the most appropriate type of network for each description. So here we have the LAN, we have the WAN, and we have the WLAN. So these right here are your types of networks. So they are network types. So it's important for us to look at each of them. Let's talk about a LAN, and then we can proceed to WAN and then WLAN. I think I have a space here, so I think I can use this. So for a LAN, okay, so it means what? Local area network. Okay, so now we know what it is. They are usually within one building or geographically near each other. That's what the local area network is. So they are usually within one building, right? So they are close in terms of proximity, they are close to each other. Okay. And of course, it's important for you to understand that a typical LAN consists of a number of computers and devices which are now connected to the hubs and switch. I felt like I needed to write that because I'm just hearing, just write it. So a typical LAN, will consist of a number of computers and devices, right? What are those devices, right? Those devices here, example of them, of those devices here is your printer. If you're wondering, it's called what? Your printer. All right, which will be connected to hubs or switches. Okay. Okay, so of course they allow sharing of resources, easy communication, and of course we can use them in terms of being network administrator to ensure security and of course ensure the land is properly monitored. Let's talk about the WAN, which is a wide area network. Okay, do I have a space for it? Okay, I think I'll probably just do the I'll do it here so it's easier. Okay, so I'll do it here. So okay, I'm going to do it here, right? So let's talk about the wide area network. So we have the wide area network. Okay, which is your one. Okay, and I used where computers or networks are situated in a long distance from each other geographically. Keyword there. Okay, and a good example here, is what? Your internet. So a good example here is the internet. Okay, so let's talk about the WLAN. So that simply means that devices can connect from different countries and from different cities. All right. So the WLAN is like the LAN, but in this case, it is wireless. It is wireless. So we have the wireless local area network. So this is WLAN. Okay. So here, right? Yes, they are similar. It's important for us to let the examiner know they are similar to LAN. Okay, but there are no wires or cables. Okay, they provide wireless network communication over fairly short distances. Okay, and of course they can using radio or infrared signals, right? Instead of using cable. So it simply means that when we are connecting to this network, we are not connecting wires to our laptops or to our devices. We can access them wirelessly. That's what we can do. We can be able to access them wirelessly. And the device that aids us to be able to access this network wirelessly is known as the access point. So the device is known as access point. The devices known as access point, right? Devices known as access point, right? Which is seen as what? Your AP, which is seen as your AP. Okay, so your AP are what? Are connected are connected into a wired network. The devices known as access points are connected into a fixed wire at fixed location. So the only wire that is connected to is to the access point from your switch down to the access point, and then you can be able to access this network wirelessly. But it's important for you to know that they have limited range. So that simply means that you can be able to get a strong signal when you are within range. So for easy mobility in any organization or in your homes is very important. It's important that you need to have more access points. So with more access point, you can have more range. More range will be available so that you can be able to access that network while you're being mobile. So several APs would definitely permit uninterrupted wireless communication, right? So this is very important. Okay, and of course, most APs can use spread spectrum technology, or they could just use the infrared, right? Infrared is just short range. The spread spectrum technology has a range of about 30 to 50 meters. So even with one, it can be able to cover so much. Okay, it can be able to cover so much. All right. So we've explained a whole lot on this. So now let's look at this. A cable network in the building is called what? So I want you to pause this video and try to do it yourself, and let's see if you're going to get it. All right. A cable, in fact, try to attempt all of them yourself. Pause this video, try to attempt all of them yourself, and then put a play on it. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. A cable network in a building, if you're connecting cables to your devices, it is seen as what? A LAN. A network that use satellite. So that simply means that you can be able to access that network from a far distance. Okay. From, of course, far distance, wherever you are in any country, you're able to access it. That is a function of what? Your WAN. A network that connects countries together, different countries connecting together, is called your WAN. And the network that uses wireless technology is similar to the LAN, but again, it doesn't make use of wires or cables. That is your WLAN. All right. The program collects a large amount of data, and this could be stored using either a fixed solid state drive or cloud storage. The developer is planning to use cloud storage. Describe 4 advantages to the school of using cloud storage rather than using the SSD. The marks will always tell you the point, right? So again, most time they might not tell you 4, they might just tell you describe, and the marks will always be there to guide you. It is important that you need to understand that when it comes to cloud computing, this is a method of data storage where data is stored on remote server. Keyword here, remote server. Okay, probably let me just write it. Okay, is a method of storage, data storage, where data is stored on remote servers. Now, the good thing about this is the fact that the same data can be stored on multiple servers. Yes, we see that as data redundancy, but the whole idea is to ensure that you are able to access your data when and where needed. And this gives the service providers, right, the cloud service providers the opportunity to be able to carry out repairs and maintenance when probably one server is down. And of course, we have three common cloud storage system. We have the public cloud storage system. That simply means that the storage environment um, is a storage environment where the customers or the client and of course the cloud storage are different. It's public. So that simply means that I can be using apologies for using brand names. Okay, I can be using Google Drive in my MacBook, right? And the private cloud storage simply means that it's a storage that is provided by a dedicated environment. So that simply means that both the customer and the cloud storage providers are integrated and they operate as an entity. If you're using an iPhone, you better be using an iCloud. Literally, right? If you're using the Google Pixels and you're not using a Google Drive, I don't know, it seems off. Now, to most of you, you'll be like, but I can. But that is literally what it means by private cloud. If you're using a Nokia and you're not using a OneDrive, okay, you're just being unfaithful, really. But the whole idea is the fact that that's what a private cloud is. So it's not really accessible to everybody, right? Only those people who have access to those devices. There's always a popular saying: the things you buy access to, you buy because of the access you get, right? So most of the things you buy because of the access you get. So literally, when you buy an iPhone, right, you have access to iCloud because it's not readily available to everybody who is not into that ecosystem. We have hybrid cloud, right? So the hybrid cloud is a combination of both environment. So that simply means that I can just interface on any of them, right? I can just interface on any of them. I can be using something different, and I can decide to do both public and private. So that simply means that data can reside in my private cloud, right? And less sensitive data can be accessed in a public storage cloud. And I do this. I have an iCloud and I have a Google Drive. I have a OneDrive. Okay, so I'm just interfacing between each of them. So it all depends on what and the content you want to store your data. So this is a school that is in dilemma, serious dilemma, and they are planning, right, to use the cloud storage, and it's on us, right, to give them an advantage why they have to use the cloud storage. And this is something I do very well. So let's look at it let's look at the first thing. Yes, the cloud. Okay, so the cloud the cloud has greater storage capacity. All right, the next one is, I'll just give a space here. The data could be sent directly to or from the cloud from any computer. Storage capacity, another point, can be increased without adding additional physical devices. Okay, and many people can share the data, which is very key, which is very, very key, because it simply means that if different people are working on a document, or different people are working on that particular environment, they can share information even without being present. Okay, even without being present. So, which is, a very good advantage that you have on over the your fixed solid state drive. Okay, I think I've said 4, right? I'll probably just do others here. Okay, so I have, again, the school. Of course, it's important to always relate it to the question. Would only pay for the storage use. Okay, and very important, there is an automatic backup. Okay, an automatic backup of data. All right, a lot. And you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Ajiro Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the Edexcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at ajirotech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about and the fee is really quite affordable. It's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E-levels as well, and also for the Edexcel. So we have for the Cambridge E-levels and Edexcel E-levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E-level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time, even physics, for E-level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at ajiro@gmail.com, and they will reply to you. And the good news about this is, what I've discussed with the sales team is, we've tried as much as possible to see how we can subsidize the amount according to countries, so it doesn't really look very, very heavy. Okay, so so this is really important. Yes, we do charge in pounds, but again, we try to be as much as possible considerate to your countries, and we don't just skyrocket the price. No, because at the end of the day, we know how it feels, and we really want you to actually get the best of service, and again, be able to afford it from the comfort of your home. So again, Ajiro Tech private tuition is currently ongoing. You can enroll yourself for the IGCSE and then for the E-levels. Again, for the IGCSEs, these are the subjects, and for the E-levels, these are also the subjects. So again, what are you waiting for? Just send an email to the sales team. If you're an IGCSE student preparing for IGCSE, if you're watching this in 2025, when this is in 2026, when this is 2027, we're currently ongoing, and this is actually a good time for you to actually explore and then get it tailored to your own needs. So trust me, you don't want to miss out. Describe 3 disadvantages to the school of using cloud storage rather than using SSD. So what are the disadvantage of the scope of using the cloud storage? Let's talk about it here. The first I want to talk about is more security issues. More security. There's always that security issues, because that simply means that I do not have total control of my files. Someone else has access to it. Someone can have access to it. So more security issues, as multiple copies of the data are stored. Right? The school loses control over the storage of the data. Now, this is very important because unlike your fixed solid state drive, you have access, you have total control, right? But now it's in the cloud, anybody can have access, so that deprives you of it. The next one is cloud storage has an ongoing cost, which is a problem, right? Because you're paying monthly. You don't just pay once. Unlike the fixed solid state drive that you just pay once, the SSD, the cloud storage, you're always paying. It's always a recurring payment, right? But the fixed solid state drive is a one-off. You buy it and you don't have to bother about another kind of payment. So it has an ongoing cost, and that's what we face in the iCloud community. But it is what it is, right? Okay, so I've talked about three already, so I'm going to talk about others, right? So the next one I can talk about here is users must have a reliable internet connection to store data. Okay, again here we can see that users must have an internet connection to access the data. Now the question is, if you access your data without internet, that simply means you've made it offline. That's what it means. But you need internet to be able to store the data. You need internet to be able to access the data. Describe how a router forwards data packets from one network to another. Now this is very important because you have to explain it the way you would explain it to literally anyone, right? Of course, routers, they route data packet from one network to another. So what happens here is that the first thing here is that the router reads the data packet, reads the data packet destination, address. The next one is it looks up the path to get to that address. And it compares to its routing table to get to the destination address. Okay, it also checks how busy the parts are, and finally sends the packet on the least congested or quickest part. Now, when you see questions like this to describe how, you don't just put three points and then you go away. No, you have to describe everything, because everything gives you your mark. Some gives you some mark, and none, of course, obviously gives you what? Nothing. Okay, so this is important. Take the most appropriate device matching the statement. So let's talk about hubs. Let's talk about switch. Let's talk about routers. Okay, so let's talk about them. I think I have a space here to write the hub. Okay, so let's talk about hub. So what's a hub, right? Hubs are hardware devices. Hardware devices that can have a number of other devices connected to them. Okay, so they can have other numbers of devices connected to them, which is what the hub and switch, that's one thing about them that is similar. Again, for the hub and switch, they are used primarily to connect devices together. To form local area network. So this is hubs and switch, because and switches, because they have that function, right? But if you want to separate it on what a hub does, right? What makes the hub different from the switch is that a hub will take a data packet received at one of its port and broadcast it to every device connected to it. So what happens is, when that data packet is sent to one of these ports, every devices that is connected to the hub port is going to send it to everyone, right? That is why when it comes to the switch is an intelligent version, right? It's an intelligent version of the hub. Okay, so the intelligent version of the hub. So it simply means that what the switch does is that it sends that data packet to a specific device only, and this is possible because the switch has what we call a lookup table. A switch stores, I think I can put this here. A switch stores the MAC address, right? Your MAC address is about the media access control address of all devices on the network. Okay. Of course, so each port that is connected to it will have a matching MAC address, right? Called the lookup table. So it stores all MAC addresses on devices on the network. Of course, we'll call that the lookup table. Okay. So with this, it simply means that with the lookup table, a switch can match that MAC address of that incoming data arriving at one of these ports and direct it to the current device. So using the lookup table, a switch matches the MAC address of an incoming data packet arriving at one of its ports and direct it to the current device. For the router, where am I going to put router now? I'm going to put router now. Okay. Okay. So for the router, I think I'll put the router here. That simply means I'm going to have to zoom in a little. So well. Right? So for the router, probably use a different color. A router I used to route data packet from one network to another network. Okay, and this is based on IP address. Okay, and it can do this because each router has its own IP address. You see that it has its own IP address, but it's important for us to understand that modern broadband now, I think I can use the modern broadband router actually combines the function of a router and a switch, right? Of course, this means that they store MAC address MAC addresses and IP addresses. To enable data packet to be sent to the correct device, to the correct network, and then to the correct device on the network. Okay. So now we've done enough of this. So what I want you to do for me is I want you to pause this and see how you can attempt 4A. Okay. Pause the video with what you've learned, see how you can attend it. We've talked about hubs, we've talked about switch, we've talked about routers. See how you can pause it and then attempt this. Okay. And then once you're done attempting it, you can now play it to see the answers. So we have connect a LAN to a WAN. So this is possible with the router. Why? Because devices are connected to the switch, and then the switch is then connected to the router, and from the router you have the internet. Okay, broadcast data to all connected devices. That's the hub. Connect to LANs, so the hub and the switch, right? Select which device to send data to. That is the switch. Okay. Describe the differences between optical and magnetic. Now, it's important for you to understand that when it comes to opticals are your CDs, DVDs, and Blu-ray. Magnetic, your magnetic tape, your fixed hard disk drive, and your portable hard disk drive. So what are the differences between them? Of course, the marks will always tell you the point, even if it's not being mentioned. In this case, it is telling you how many they want. So I have the first one here, optical data is stored using laser, whereas magnetic data is stored using magnetic field. Optical disk storage is serial. That means you can only access as the data are being stored, whereas magnetic storage is direct. Alright, I think I can put the other one here. Magnetic storage is affected by magnetic field, whereas optical storage is not. Okay. Okay, I think I can put some others here. We can see here that um, optical storage is more robust right? So that simply means that if it falls on the floor, it's not really affected, unlike the magnetic. Okay, and in terms of storage, the tends magnetic storage tends to store more than optical. Okay, 6 descriptions are shown on the left and 4 computed terms are shown on the right. By drawing lines, connect each description to its correct term. So let's do that. So let's look at this. So I'm going to use different colors. Let me use red first. For memory cards, which is memory card? So let's see. Media that comes in X. The X here talks about extreme. Digital. This S talk about secure digital, and CFAX talk about compact fax card. So I have the memory card. So I'm going to do this. Okay. The next one, solid state memory. For solid state, technology that makes use of a floating gate and control gates. So this is it here. Okay. Dual layering talks about 2 individual recording layers sandwiched together to form a single DVD. So this is this. Pen drive, device that uses solid state memories and plug into the USB port of a computer. Okay, so this is this here. All right. Magnetic tape are used in organizations for backing up data. Describe the advantages and disadvantages of using magnetic tape rather than flash memories. Okay, for backing up data. How many marks is this? This is 6 marks. Wow. So let's look at this. So I'm going to begin with advantages because I don't have much. So I'll start with advantages. It's less expensive per gigabyte. Okay. And the other one is not as easily lost as is larger in size. So in terms of size, you can't actually lose it, right? So it's less expensive per gigabyte. So the lesser gigabyte, the cheaper it is, right? Disadvantages here. I think I can use this for disadvantages because I have a whole lot. So okay, let me start with disadvantages here. Disadvantages here. Disadvantages. So I have data access time. Data access time is slower. Data transfer rate is slower. Is affected by magnetic field. They have moving parts. Therefore, less robust. Okay. So for others, because I've talked about 6, now for you to be eligible for this full mark, you must talk about the advantages and disadvantages. So for others, you can see that read and write is more noisy. Okay, and again, it requires a special reader. A special reader. Okay. Describe 3 of the features you would expect to find in any antivirus. So this is talking about the chapter 4. That's when you go towards other authentications, you probably find that there. We go through there, you probably find it. Especially when we talk about your anti-malware software, right? Anti-malware software. After other implications, anti-malware software, you probably find your antivirus. So again, describe 3 of the features you would expect to find in any antiviruses. Now, the whole idea of antiviruses is to protect your system against a potential virus attack. Okay, antivirus softwares should be loaded on a computer and then run to allow all softwares and devices to be scanned for viruses. Even when you download your data or you're transferring data to another device, it's essential that a virus check is carried out on that other devices too. Okay, of course, we're running it in the background as well. It constantly checks for virus attacks. Okay, all right. So let's talk about those features you would find um, in any antivirus software. So I have this. They check softwares or files before before they are run or loaded on a computer. Okay. Again, the antiviruses software compares a possible virus against a database of known viruses. Okay. They carry out heuristic check. They carry out heuristic checking. If you wonder what this means, so this is the checking of software for types of behavior that could indicate a possible virus. Okay, and of course, this is very useful when, especially if the virus is not yet updated on a database. Okay, all right. Question 8. Movies can be stored on Blu-ray discs or an internal hard disk. Describe why Blu-ray discs are preferred to an internal hard disk for storing movies. Okay, so Blu-ray, why are we preferring it to internal? The reason why we prefer Blu-ray is the fact that, number one, data cannot be erased or edited. Blu-ray discs are portable. And another thing is the fact that as it is on an external device, it does not take up internal storage. Okay, so you can have large number of Blu-rays discs, therefore more storage. Okay, so this is important because essentially the Blu-ray is external, right? So you have to slot it in with the Blu-ray reader or the CD or DVD readers, and then you can be able to store the movies there, right? So that saves a lot of space for your on your internal storage and storing the movies in your internal storage. All right, let's look at question 9. 7 descriptions are shown on the left, and 10 computer terms are shown on the right. By drawing arrows, connect each description to the correct terms. So let's look at this. Form of authentication in the form of hardware devices uses periodically changing random numbers to log into a secure system. We see that as what? Yes, physical token. Okay, so this is seen as physical token because the form of hardware, right? Form of hardware, that's between physical token and electronic token. Okay. Type of network that covers a huge geographical area, such as a country or different continent. So that's what the wide area network. Devices used to connect two LANs together that uses the same protocol but cannot communicate outside the two LANs. Okay, that is seen as a bridge that connects two LANs together using the same protocol. So that's a bridge. All right. Authentication software installed on a user's smartphone that generates a one-time password. So that's electronic token. Types of login authentication that relies on biometrics and behavioral patterns. So that's zero login. Device that connects computers together to form a LAN. Direct data packet to a specific device or computer only. That's seen as what? A switch. Hardware needed to connect a device to a network. A MAC address is hardwired or hard coded into a device and manufacturing. So anything that allows you to be able to have access to the internet or to a network that is inside the motherboard, that is seen as what? The network interface card. I think I'll use the network interface card. Okay. Authentication is an important part of network security. Explain the meaning of the following three types of authentication. In each case, also give an example of its use. So let's talk about zero login. Now for zero login, what do they do? It allows users to log in to computers, to computer systems without the need to type in a password. Okay, so an example here is going to be what? Example, I'll give you two. It's supposed to be one, but I'll give you two. We have biometrics, and then we have behavioral patterns. Physical token is seen as what? A form. I think I can write it here. Is seen as what? A form of authentication in the form of physical or solid object. Okay, so the user interaction for another point. Now, of course, it's just one, but I'll probably put this as order. So the user interactions with a login system is used to prove that the user has possession of the token. Okay, for others again, powerfully others. For others, we can see that it also contains internal clocks and when a PIN, person identity number, and other authentication details are entered, then a one-time password, which is OTP, is generated. So example, you have to give one, but based on that's 6 marks, 2 2 2 2 2, right? So this is going to be disconnected. Physical token, then we have connected physical token. Electronic token. So electronic token we have again is a software installed on a user device such as smartphone. Okay, so example here is what? Electronic token application. Okay, so for electronic token, we see that software is installed. So when we have the software installed on your smartphone, and then it generates a set of numbers that you have to put in on those softwares to prove that truly this is who you are, right? The physical token is the physical one, the physical solid object, right? It can be connected and disconnected. The connected one is one that is plugged directly to your laptop to authenticate you. This connected one is one that will generate certain digits, and it is time bound. Okay, zero logging simply means that you are accessing your computers without the need to type in your password. A company is setting up a video conferencing. Name 3 hardware device they would need, right? 3 hardware devices they would need. Now, when it comes to video conferencing, it is a communication that uses both video and sound. Okay, you can actually see them, you can talk to them. There is a conference, people are in the same conference room, but you can see other people in different countries who are in the same conference room. So the whole idea is bridging the gap for traveling to different countries. So it's a substitute for face-to-face conferencing between a numbers of people who may be in different parts of the world. Okay, so the whole idea is it bridges the gap. So it simply means that certain documents that you need, instead of traveling to those countries to actually present the document right there in your country, you could actually do that as well. So what are those devices, basic hardware that are needed when setting up a video conference? So one, okay, so you need a webcams, so they can actually see you. You need a large monitor, or television screen. Okay, and of course you need a microphone, so they can actually hear you when you're talking. You can actually talk to it. And of course, for the other people to hear you, I'll probably add this as other. You need a speaker, so you can actually hear when others are talking, and also they can also hear you when you're talking. The company could set up a web conferencing rather than a video conferencing. Describe what is meant by a web conferencing. So let's look at this. It's 4 marks, and that's 4 points, right? So here we have a conference held over the internet using the transfer control protocol or the IP, internet protocol connections. You could also add this examples as well, which is webinars, web or webcam, webinars or webcast, or the voice over Internet Protocol. What you know as what? Your VoIP. Your VoIP, right? Again, we have can be point to point, which is the VoIP, the VoIP, or the multicast. It allows text communication, so where people are able to chat. Think I'll add for others. Allows voice communication. Also allows video communication. It also uses a web browser. All right. Evaluate the use of a web conferencing in this scenario. Okay, so the scenario here is students are students prefer using the web conferencing instead of the physical conferencing, right? So how do we explain this? Now most time you have online school, and this is why online school is becoming a thing, right? Students are now doing online school and all that and all that. So here we can see that if we're going to use web conferencing for that, you see that students saves time as they do not need to travel to the school. Okay, another one here is that the student, how many marks is it? This is 6 marks. So when you are evaluating, this is very good. When you are evaluating, keywords here for evaluating, you're judging the scenario, and they are looking at both positive and negative. So I'm looking at the positive here. This is the positive. So the students, okay, 3 positive, 3 negative. The students save the cost of traveling to the school. So this is especially when they want to have classes during the summer. Okay, during the summer. Okay, instead of students coming, they can just be in any country in their summer, and then they're also having their classes. The school saves cost as it does not need to open in the holidays? Okay. Students and teachers can work from anywhere in the world. And not just that, can be recorded. For students who missed the lesson. Okay, I think I've already talked enough. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. Let's talk about negative. Negative. So for negative, hardware or software could be expensive. For you to be entitled to your full mark, you must talk about the positives and negatives. Positive or there must be presence of the positive and negative. So I can put others here. It requires a good or reliable internet connection. There could be issues with child protection. So again, it's an online class, but we have to be careful with child protection to ensuring that while you're having the online classes, you understand the laws guiding that. It's not something that you record and then you start posting all the faces of the children. No, it is a no-no, right? So this is very important with child protection. Yes, it might be difficult sometimes to, might be more difficult. It's online to concentrate because again, the child might be saying, I'm listening, but probably listening to something else. All right. I think I can add one more. If the hardware breaks or there is loss of connection, okay, or lack of device, so they didn't go to the travels with their devices, lack of hardware, then the student cannot participate. Yes, but you see, but that's rare, but we have to put it in, right? We have to put it in. Okay, so this is the last question, right? Describe how these magnetic stripe cards could be improved to increase the security of the building. Okay, so how can we use magnetic stripe cards? Essentially, we're talking about those magnetic stripe cards. Essentially, we're talking about still other authentication methods, and the whole idea of the magnetic stripe card is they have magnetic stripes on the reverse card of them, right? The stripe is read by swiping it through the card reader, right? and the data such as your name, your ID, your date of birth, they are contained on the magnetic stripe when used, okay, as a security device to allow entry to a building. So it has that holographic image, what you call your hologram, that is designed to make forgery of the card difficult. So again, it changes, right? It changes to have what, a moving object as the image is viewed from a different angle. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. Okay, so here we can look at it here that it use a holographic image, okay, which is a hologram. This is one way to make it difficult. Okay, so this are designed to make forgery of the card more difficult. Again, photographic image of the card, photographic image of the card, user is printed. Photographic image of the card is printed onto the card surface. Okay, so this prevents a stolen card from being used. Okay, and why? Because the image etched into the card will not match the perpetrator. Okay, so we've come to the end of the topical video for chapter 3, storage devices and media, and chapter 4, the network devices or networks and the effects of using them. So literally those questions doesn't cover everything on the chapter, but literally gives you an idea how you're able to attempt questions on storage devices and media, which is chapter 3, and networks and the effects of using them, which is chapter 4. So hope this was really helpful to you, and I wish you all the best in your examination. Bye for now.